All right. So, if you want to tell us just a little bit about why you wanted to be a speaker at this E3 Small Business Conference.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So first of all, empowerment, which is really what this is. It's about empowering small business owners. So anytime that empowerment is involved, I get excited
Mhm.
because empowerment and leadership go hand in hand, and you cannot have a successful business without being a strong leader.
Yes.
Okay. And I think that leadership gets, I want to say maybe confused, but I don't think that's the word I'm looking for. So if you think of a better word, okay. But I think what happens a lot of times is we think being a leader means you have followers,
Mm.
but it does not.
This is true.
Being a leader means you go first. And so that's my driver. That's
Yeah.
really my drivers. Being a leader means go first. And having the courage to go first is a really important deal because courage makes money.
Yes. Well, that kind of leads me into my next question is what led you to do the work that you're doing now? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, ah, which version? So,
I
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
mean, that's true though. And I think a lot of, especially entrepreneur business owners, we do have all those versions of ourselves that show up.
Well, we do, right? And
Yeah.
so I
Mhm.
talk a lot about which is why I always show up as me. I am not always perfectly polished and I don't always have the right word. I think most of my life I've been told that I need to pipe down a little bit and be more digestible. And it has led me to being a lot more reserved, not in who I am. Obviously, I'm a big personality, but it to be more careful about the kind of words I use. And sometimes in being careful, I can't come up with them. So you get whatever you get with me. Sometimes
Yeah.
a little wild. So you were asking me what led me to do what the work I do.
Yes.
In the 30 years of corporate business, my favorite thing ever is business growth. And it's really interesting because when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I started using my trauma therapy component, which I didn't use in corporate, obviously, right? Because
Okay. Mhm.
they just cause trauma. Um,
Yeah.
there's no interest in resolving it. But I really wanted people to understand that suffering was optional and that we actually create our own suffering. I grew a very successful business in a very short amount of time. And I grew it using social media. I actually grew it using LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I noticed that I was attracting high executives,
Okay.
high level executives. And I was missing the level of engagement that they still had at work in my entrepreneurial life. And I shut down my business to go back to
Oh.
work
Oh, wow.
because I missed the challenges of the business. You cannot put a genie back in the bottle.
Mhm. No, you can't. I'm pretty sure I'm unemployable at this point too.
Yeah. Okay. So I had become very unemployable, even though I was employed.
Hmm.
And it didn't take them long to figure out that I was not going to play the game. Once all of those stitches were reopened from the absolute toxic warfare I faced, I sat back and I said, Cher, what are you going to do? Like, you can do anything in the world, literally. I've sold more than $140 million personally in sales. And I have seen just about everything there is to see. I've lived a big life. I was in corporate for 30 years. I've held just about every position in an organization that you can hold. And I was an executive leader. And in sitting back, I said, okay, you got to love the comfort of a paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, let's, it, when we're really honest with ourselves and other people, that W-2 creates a false sense of security, but you know that on the 15th and 30th of every month, you're going to get a lump sum of money in and you're going to have benefits that make you feel safe.
Hmm.
Okay. And I realized that I really missed that security, even though I had created a very lucrative business. And going back to work taught me that there was no security in that. It was all an illusion.
Yeah, yeah, because that can be taken away from you at any point.
Mhm. And I realized that I actually could do both.
Mhm.
And I became a business and growth strategist working with business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs. But I work with leadership as well as business growth. And I think that I know for a fact that anybody can create their own personal economy and they can make a lot of freaking money, a lot more than they can make with a W-2.
Mm-hmm.
And when you fuse the EQ and CQ, emotional and cultural piece of it, with your identity, you can really create something beautiful and fun. That's what led me to do what I do, and I love it. And I love showing people too that their past doesn't define them. It does not matter. It's actually your power. And the things that you have held shame about and haven't resolved are actually going to keep you from having the kind of money and success you want. And so I can quickly resolve that with somebody and turn it into cash. And who doesn't want more money?
Yeah, I like that. And I like what you said too about, there's the comfort of a paycheck,
Mhm.
but what are you giving up that opportunity lost sometimes when we hold on to what's comfortable? It's like sitting around in sweatpants all day, and it may be very comfortable, but it may not get the results that you want. So,
Yeah. I think a lot of people wear yoga pants these
yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah. You got to get just a little uncomfortable to get those results.
I work with small business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs that really are looking to create a position using their genius,
Mhm.
because your genius is different than mine. And I'm going to be able to see your genius in ways you cannot see it, I promise.
Mhm.
And turning that into an attractive business model that grows your revenue and your income quickly, but that also allows you to hold on to that personal um, identity. So I really help people step into and level up their identity so that they can make the money that is important to them. Because I think what most people find when they become entrepreneurs, even if you're in a retail business or service-based business, I work with service-based leaders. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's really my key is service-based leaders. But your identity is everything.
Mhm.
Your identity is everything. And your identity in the business is going to be very different than your identity when you were in corporate America. Okay. And so I find that leaders who have had success in corporate America often struggle with the transition and to turn that into that security that we all crave. We all
Right.
crave security
Mhm.
and we all deserve it. And when you create a personal economy, you have it. Yeah, I really love the stories that we have that turn into making the bank that we actually desire. And everybody's bank looks different. Like I just got off a meeting with a client. She had a very large role in a very big enterprise company, and she earned close to $500,000 in a paycheck.
Mhm.
Okay. And she's just decided recently that she was going to hang a shingle. I still call it that. I still use old
Right.
fashioned terms.
Yeah.
Okay. But she's going to hang a shingle and her business is what she's decided to give all her thing. And she's really looking at, I have a timeline. I need to replace my salary.
Yes.
Okay. She's looking at replacing her salary. And I said, why are you looking at replacing your salary? You should be doubling it. And she said, what do you mean? I made almost $500,000, right?
Mhm.
So you should be able to make $1 million. Like
Right.
that should be really, I think everybody can be a millionaire personally, but like, why are you setting the bar so low?
Mhm.
But she's stuck a little bit still in that W-2 mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Right.
is a hard thing. And I think, in our area here, that can be a bit of a difficulty. We do have a lot of, like you talked about, we've got a lot of corporate, a lot of factories, all these things. And I've known some amazing people and speakers and entrepreneurs now who have come out of those situations. And so
Yep.
I think what you have to say is so relatable.
Yeah. And it's really different if you're coming out of, but there's no better time than now.
Yeah.
All you have to do is look around.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no better time than now, but also our voices are so important, right? And our voices are what makes money. That identity with your voice is so important.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really important.
A couple of quick questions.
Sure.
So just some kind of off the cuff. What's one of your favorite books?
So I read The Alchemist every year.
Okay.
I mean, I literally read it every year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books. There are a couple books I read often. Okay. I'm a reader. Readers are leaders, right? But I love that book because every time I read it, I read a different story. Yeah, I love that. So I read that every year, but I think my favorite book might be Power versus Force.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's about consciousness.
Uh-huh. Yep,
And
I've read it. Uh-huh.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, so many people don't even know what it is. Anyhow, I'm a big Hawkins fan. And that might be one of my favorite books.
Yeah. Letting Go, I think, is one of his other ones.
I have a few of them. So I don't know about Letting Go, but Power versus Force is one. An Eye for an Eye is another one. I really am big into consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
We create our own reality, and and he proved it through kinesiology, right? And I'm just fascinated by it.
Yeah. I think that's, something too that a lot of people are trying to be more mindful, be more conscious, and not even in like the deeper part that you're talking about here, but that just day to day being aware, because our devices get in front of us and distract us. And we get so removed from our goals. Our voice gets lost because we're listening to everyone else's voices. So a lot of those things that I think that's great, because mindfulness, consciousness, and all of those things are so important.
It's really important because we really, I mean, without getting deep into it, right? We really only have now, and even in the future, it's going to be now. It's not going to be the future, right? So we only have now. And so how can I make the most out of the season of now? And as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, right? The season of now looks different daily. And it's really important to be able to know how to make decisions that are going to support you in your season of now.
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, you talked earlier about that you always show up as yourself, but it might be a different. And I think as entrepreneurs, we all know what that's like, that you put on, we say a different hat a lot of the time, but the clothes we wear to the gym are different than the clothes we wear to the meeting, different than the clothes that we wear to dinner or whatever, or to bed, or whatever it may be. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you're not yourself. Identity, our voice, they become part of us. How do you decompress whenever you need that?
So I actually am not wrapped up in my identity with my business. Okay. And that's actually a really important distinction to make. And a lot of that has to do with self-trust. I have a tremendous amount of self-trust and a very strong faith. Those two things allow me to be present and to move accordingly to really however I feel at the moment. And anybody can learn that, really. I've had a very challenging life. I wrote the book, My Skeletons Have Names. I wrote it in 2019. And it's not the caliber of writing that I normally do, but the person who I worked with told me, this is so intimate, it's so personal, it's never going to live up to your standards, just let it go. And so I did, but that story talks about all of the domestic violence and addictions and other things, survivor type things that really could have affected me and did affect me in certain ways. And in learning to become who I am today, who I always was, has really taught me not to be so wrapped up into anything to let it define me. So
I like that.
Yeah. So decompressing, and I meditate. I meditate every day. So
yeah, same. I'm a competitive person by nature. So I love to use the Headspace app
Oh,
because
okay.
it
Yeah.
takes a running total, and I could actually tell you I am right now, and I love this because
I
it
don't
makes
use
me
Headspace. I use Calm, but
okay.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm on my run streak is 1,347 days straight of meditating.
That is a coup. That's more than 3 years.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a life-changing thing. And I think, identity that we've talked about, your voice, being able to quiet yourself and quiet those thoughts sometimes and really pick them apart.
Yeah.
Let
Well, the
them
shitty
float.
committee can get loud, right?
Yeah.
And so, and we're really good at listening to it.
Hmm.
We've spent our whole lives. And
Yeah.
so, quieting that voice or those voices and recognizing that they really have nothing, they're not even you.
Hmm.
It's not even you. Um, is life changing.
Yeah, it is. It makes everything else so much better. And you are able to be present. You're able to be conscious
Mhm.
of
You're
the
able
moments
to,
in
and
your
you're
life.
able to listen and focus. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting. So the other thing, I'll share a secret with you.
Okay.
Um,
By the
I-
way, other people are going to see this. It's not a big, like, it's not a big secret, right? I
okay.
mean,
Well,
okay.
not that secret. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not that secret. So I had to break my phone addiction.
Mm,
So my phone addiction really kept me wrapped a little tight around the axle,
hmm.
and I had to break it. And running my business online, I was using work as an excuse for some of my addiction. And the reality is, it took me out of myself, as it does anybody. Nobody can say, yeah, but I unwind by scrolling. No, you don't. That's creating a false sense of reality
Yeah.
and dopamine. And you're
Hmm.
not going to know how to sit in silence because you're not going to know how to spend time without the distraction. And I had to retrain myself. It's hard.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
it is. And especially whenever you are an entrepreneur and you're working with service people and you need to get back to them. And that communication is so important. And it's constant communication is such a just ubiquitous thing
Well,
anymore.
the reality is, though, you don't need constant communication.
Yeah, we think we do. But if we think back to it, and I'm assuming we're around the same
Oh,
age,
I'm definitely older than you, but yes.
well, I had friends in school that still had a party line, not
Right.
everybody
Okay.
had
Yeah.
call waiting or an answering
Right.
machine or
Right.
anything like
Okay. So
that.
we're close to the same place.
Yeah, yeah.
My parents didn't want to get call waiting because they felt like nobody needed to reach them so badly to interrupt another conversation. They could call back. And I often think about that.
Yeah.
I really do. I often think about that. And I think about it also. I mean, I have adult children, and one of them thinks that if they text me, I should get right back immediately, and might go on for an encyclopedia of texts, wondering why I'm not responding. Okay. Well, the reality is, if I'm with you, I'm not going to respond to anything else. Now, a younger version of Shari would have popped right off.
Yeah.
But
I was having dinner with a friend the other night and this came up. We were sitting there and there's a series of emails going on. And I'm looking at them and there's another email. I looked at her and I said, you know what? I guess they quit sending emails if I quit replying. And I just put my phone down and the
well,
world.
first of all, an email. So an email never needs an immediate response. It's
Yeah.
an email.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's really important as a business owner to understand that people hear in their own voice. So if I'm reading a text or an email from you, I'm reading it in my voice. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
reading it as you intended. And so it's very important not to respond right away, because
Yeah.
you want to think about their voice and what are they going to hear. Right. And so if somebody is in an email exchange, that's heated because it's a back and a forth kind of a thing. There's a lot of energy being given to it. A
Mm-hmm.
pause is often necessary because they're not going to hear your response the way you intend it.
Hmm.
If you say, you know what, I'll get back to you later, they're going to read it maybe as you're saying get lost. When all
Absolutely.
okay, and that's something we don't think about. And so we teach people how to treat us.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, so knowing that you teach people how to treat you, you have to teach them how to treat you with your electronics.
To wrap up this interview here, I would like you, in your own voice, just to invite people to come and hear what you have to say.
So I'm really looking forward to being an attendee in the conference as well as the closing keynote. I always appreciate the opportunity to be face to face or arm to arm with other business owners and leaders. And we pick up and we learn more from each other through the nuance of being in the same space than we do any other way. And we have all become so adept, I should say, we've all become so adept at teaching ourselves things that we've lost the humanity in it. And we're learning every day, basically, that artificial intelligence has the capacity to surpass us as humans. And I say baloney, it's here to help us make our jobs easier and to shrink time, as long as you don't lose the humanity, which is the emotion. Okay. So
Absolutely.
there's no machine can pick up the emotion, and there's no better way to pick up energy than to be in a shared space. And so I'm looking forward to this conference for that reason. I am looking forward to there's a unique energy that entrepreneurs and business owners share that cannot be described or handed off to anyone else.
That is the truth.
Okay. And so coming to the E3 conference is going to give people, I would say, that breath of air. It should be something that gives you that one more, I can run the next lap.
Yes.
I'm not alone. Other people experience and feel and think the same way I do, and you cannot get that any other way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important. Now, why am I excited to close? I am there to leave people on a high note. I'm really excited to leave people feeling like their investment in their time and in the space is always worth it. And I know what I'm sharing is I'm actually going to share some key things that people can implement right away to improve their business. So I think it's going to be really fun. And I just know that I'm going to be around the people I need to be with. I'm always where I'm supposed to be.
I completely agree with that. And I love that you'll be giving us actionable steps. And
oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Great.
This has been so fun, Tiffany. I'm so excited to give you a hug.
Yes, I was just gonna say, are you a hugger? Because
I'm a hugger. Yeah, I hug strangers. So
okay.
And I would throw that in, right? Like the other reason to come is because we need a dose of hugs.
Zoom does not have a hug option. I looked at all the buttons. There's no hug.
There's no hug. Okay, so let's just say that's a hug. There you go.
There we go. You got something. Yeah.
But this has been fabulous. Looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. I
Hi, honey.
appreciate
Thank you
you
for your time and for volunteering.
Yeah, absolutely.